We live in a world obsessed with measurement. We quantify everything, likes, followers, dollars, inches. And somewhere along the line, that obsession made its way into the most sacred and intimate part of our lives, the bedroom. Let's begin with a bold truth. For all the talk about size, women are not biologically wired to fall in love with length, girth, or volume. What captures a woman's desire isn't a ruler. It's a feeling. It's a psychological, emotional, and sensory experience. And biology confirms it. In evolutionary biology, arousal in women is tied far more to safety, connection, and anticipation than to physical attributes alone. The female brain, wired for complexity and nuance, responds not only to touch but to tone, to attention, to attunement. A woman's erotic core is not a single switch, it's a symphony. You can have all the size in the world, but if you are not present, if you are not curious, if you are not deeply in tune with her subtle cues, then none of it matters. Because what she craves is not something she can see, it's something she can feel. Biologically, women are more responsive to context than content. Her arousal blooms in the space between two words, in the way you look at her when she's not looking, in how you touch her when you're not trying to fix her. The erotic starts long before you enter the bedroom. It begins in how you hold her presence in daily life. When a woman says, "I want to feel desired," she's not saying, "I want you to perform." She's saying, "I want to feel seen in a way that awakens me." And that desire isn't born in the act, it's born in how she's made to feel leading up to it. Her biology, unlike what popular culture tells us, isn't craving magnitude, it's craving meaning. So does size really matter? Not in the way the magazines or locker rooms would have you believe. What matters is, can you be present with her discomfort without rushing to change it? Can you engage her imagination, not just her body? Can you be attuned to the rhythm of her desire, which is ever-changing and not linear? Because when you understand that real intimacy is about presence over performance, quality over quantity, and attunement over anatomy, you start to access a deeper truth. We must shift the conversation from measurement to meaning, from comparison to connection. Because when a woman is deeply connected to herself and to you, everything feels bigger, more alive, more intense, more sacred. So here is your invitation. Stop asking if you are enough and start asking, how present can I be? Stop measuring and start feeling. Instead of trying to impress, tune in. Because when you awaken a woman's mind, when you hold her heart, when you listen with your body, you become unforgettable. Let this be your turning point. Let this be the moment you stop trying to prove and start learning to listen. If you're ready to experience intimacy that transcends biology, that moves beyond ego, that makes her feel like the only woman in the world, then you already have what matters. The question is, are you bold enough to show up with it? Does she want more of you or more of how you make her feel? This is the question most men don't ask because they're too busy measuring what can't be measured. We've been conditioned to believe that size somehow equals satisfaction, that biology favors the bold and the big. But in the intimate landscape of a woman's desire, it isn't size that determines connection, it's presence. It's not about how much you're bringing, it's about how deeply you're meeting her. Desire lives in the realm of the mind, not the mirror. A woman doesn't close her eyes and fantasize about dimensions, she fantasizes about experiences, about being ravished by attention, about being consumed by focus. When a woman feels deeply seen, when she senses that your energy is not scattered but anchored, something ancient inside her awakens. Her body responds not to your size but to your depth. That depth isn't physical, it's psychological. Arousal, for a woman, is not instant, it's an unfolding. It's not a push of a button but a slow dance with her nervous system. The female body is responsive, and what it responds to most is attunement. That is how well you can tune into her, not just her words or her moans, but her silences, her breath, the tension in her body, the way her energy shifts from open to guarded and back again. You want to know what size matters, the size of your awareness, the size of your emotional intelligence, the size of your ability to be fully in the moment without turning her into a performance review. In modern intimacy, men often carry the pressure of performance. But the truth is, what women crave is not a performance, they crave presence. They crave the raw, unpredictable, emotionally naked version of you that isn't trying to be impressive but is trying to be real. If she feels you're chasing a goal, she contracts. If she feels you're chasing her, she opens. And here's the paradox. The more pressure you put on proving you're enough, the less room there is for real connection. You become a role, a character, a caricature. But when you're with her, truly with her, not trying to impress her or deliver something, she relaxes into you. And in that relaxation, she unlocks her pleasure, her desire, her trust. She doesn't want to be with a man who's trying to satisfy her like a checklist. She wants a man who makes her feel safe enough to surrender. And surrender isn't about giving in, it's about letting go. A woman lets go when she knows she's not being used, compared, or conquered. She lets go when she knows she is being met. So what truly matters isn't what's in your pants, it's what's in your presence. It's whether she can feel you feeling her, whether your energy is rooted, curious, and emotionally available. And that has nothing to do with biology, it has everything to do with emotional maturity and erotic intelligence. She doesn't just respond to what you do, she responds to when you do it, why you do it, and how she feels in the space around it. That's the secret most men miss. Female arousal isn't a linear reaction to physical stimulation, it's a rich, layered response to the environment that surrounds her. You can touch her body all night, but if the context is off, if her nervous system doesn't feel emotionally safe or deeply seen, her body will not respond the way you expect. Not because she isn't attracted to you, but because her biology is hardwired to prioritize context over content. She may crave physical intimacy, but the door to her erotic energy is open not through pressure or precision, but through perception. What was the emotional tone of your day? Did she feel emotionally connected to you? Did she feel heard earlier, or did she feel dismissed? Is she carrying stress that hasn't been released or acknowledged? These are not soft questions, they are vital ones. Because a woman's desire is deeply affected by what is unresolved, what is unspoken, and what is emotionally lingering in the background. We often think desire begins in the bedroom, but for her it begins hours before, sometimes even days before. A kind word at breakfast, an unexpected glance at noon, a lingering kiss in the hallway when she least expects it, that is foreplay. And that foreplay happens in context, because when a woman feels emotionally synced with you, her body relaxes. And when she relaxes, she becomes open not just physically but emotionally. And that is where intimacy lives, not in performance but in permission. Permission to let go, permission to feel, permission to be fully immersed in the moment without needing to protect herself from judgment or pressure. Her arousal is deeply intelligent. It listens not just to your hands but to your energy. If your intention is to conquer, she shuts down. If your intention is to connect, she opens. She senses the context of your touch. She feels whether it's filled with curiosity, appreciation, and genuine presence, or whether it's driven by ego, entitlement, or the fear of not being enough. Think about it, two identical touches can land completely differently based on the emotional climate between you. The same kiss can feel intrusive or electrifying depending on the tone of your connection. And that's the power of context. That's the power of subtlety. That's the power of presence. If her heart feels closed, her body will too. If her trust is intact, her desire flows more naturally. She doesn't need perfection. She needs alignment. She doesn't need you to be flawless. She needs you to be emotionally attuned. So instead of focusing on technique alone, ask yourself, what kind of emotional space am I creating? Am I giving her room to feel safe, seen, and desired in her entirety? Because when the emotional context is right, everything else begins to take care of itself. She doesn't crave the best performance of your life. She craves the most present version of you. That's the shift most men never make. They're caught in the trap of doing more, lasting longer, pushing harder, thinking that desire is something to chase down or conquer. But real desire, the kind that makes her melt, ache, and open, is not born out of performance, it's born out of presence. And presence has nothing to do with stamina and everything to do with stillness, focus, and depth. Presence is erotic. It's the art of being completely with her, not ahead of her, not lost in your own head, not distracted by outcome. When a woman feels that she's the only thing you're focused on in that moment, her body lets go, her mind softens, her heart becomes available, and from that place, intimacy becomes expansive instead of performative, because she doesn't need you to be extraordinary, she needs you to be here. Women are exquisitely sensitive to divided energy. If you're in your head, she feels it. If you're trying to impress her, she feels it. If you're chasing a goal rather than being in the moment with her, she feels it. Her body has an emotional radar and it's scanning not just what you're doing, but why. Is your touch a request or a demand? Is your kiss a moment of connection or a rehearsal for something else? She feels the difference. Performance is predictable, it's technique-driven, and often disconnected from the emotional rhythm between you. Presence, on the other hand, is intuitive. It's slow, it listens, it reads the temperature of her mood, her body language, her unspoken signals. Presence doesn't need to be loud, it just needs to be real. And when it is, she drops out of performance too. She stops thinking, stops evaluating, stops comparing, and starts feeling. That shift changes everything. When a woman feels you're not trying to prove anything but are simply witnessing her with desire and tenderness, she begins to trust you not just emotionally but erotically. And that trust is what unlocks her depth, her playfulness, her uninhibited nature. She becomes more expressive, more vocal, more wild, not because you performed well, but because you created a space where she could be herself fully. Your ability to be present tells her everything she needs to know about how safe she is to be vulnerable with you. And for women, vulnerability is the gateway to sensuality. She won't drop her guard for someone trying to impress her, but she will open for someone who can hold her exactly where she is, without judgment, expectation, or agenda. That kind of presence speaks louder than words. It whispers, "You can relax, you are safe here, you are desired just as you are." And when she feels that, the intimacy deepens, the pleasure multiplies, the connection becomes unforgettable. Anticipation is the most underrated form of foreplay, and yet it's the very thing that breathes erotic life into a relationship. For most women, desire doesn't erupt instantly. It simmers, it builds slowly. It lingers in the space between moments, in the pauses between touch, in the glance held just a second too long. That tension, that delicious uncertainty, that slow unfolding of what might happen next, that's what awakens her deepest sensuality. It's not the act itself that makes her pulse quicken, it's the suspense that leads up to it. Most men rush, not because they're selfish, but because they're wired for outcome. They want to get somewhere, but a woman's erotic system thrives in the space before arrival. She wants to be taken on a journey, not pushed toward a destination. It's in the slow reveal that her nervous system begins to open. When you touch her without needing to escalate, when you speak to her with depth, not just desire, when you walk by her and your hand lightly brushes her lower back, not demanding, not urgent, just suggestive, that's when her body starts to lean in. There is something incredibly erotic about restraint, about not giving everything at once, about knowing that you could go further but you choose to hold back just enough to make her feel your desire without overwhelming her. That subtle dance between closeness and space creates a tension that excites the female nervous system. Anticipation isn't manipulation, it's awareness. It's tuning into the fact that for her, pleasure lives not just in what's happening but in what could happen. The way you look at her across the room, the way your fingers hover before they land, the way your breath slows when she gets closer. These are not small things, they are everything. They are signals, invitations, and when a woman feels that you understand the power of anticipation, she begins to relax into the unknown. She trusts the moment because it isn't rushed, it's being built slowly, intentionally, and with emotional intelligence. Erotic tension isn't just for the early stages of attraction, it's a vital part of long-term intimacy. But it only survives when we stop trying to skip to the end, when we start valuing the in-between. In that in-between, she begins to open, not just physically, but emotionally. She feels desired, not for what she gives, but for who she is. She begins to feel like an experience, not an expectation. And that, more than anything, fuels her longing to surrender deeper. Anticipation is the art of staying with her. Step by step, not sprinting ahead. It's the space where her imagination joins your presence, where her body meets your patience, and where real intimacy begins to take shape. Not from what's done, but from how much space is given for it to bloom slowly, organically, and with depth. When a woman says, "I want to feel desired," she's not asking you to touch her harder, faster, or more aggressively. She's asking for something deeper, something far more intimate. She's asking to feel like she matters, to feel like your attention isn't transactional, but intentional, like her presence affects you, moves you, awakens something primal and vulnerable in you. Because for a woman, the experience of being desired is not about being wanted, it's about being chosen, over and over again, in the small moments, in the silence, in the subtleties. Desire for her isn't simply about your physical reaction to her body, it's about whether she feels felt, whether your eyes linger when she walks into the room, whether your energy shifts when she undresses, not because it's time for sex, but because she in that moment is breathtaking to you. She doesn't want to be a task or a checkpoint, she wants to be a trigger for your passion, a muse, a source of heat. She wants to feel like your desire isn't just about getting off, but about getting into her world, her energy, her soul. You can sleep with a woman and never make her feel desired. And you can make her feel profoundly desired with nothing but a look. That's the difference between performance and presence. One seeks an outcome, the other holds space. One tries to get something, the other is immersed in the giving. And the giving doesn't always mean touching, it often means noticing. honoring, slowing down long enough to actually see her in that moment. A woman's erotic self opens when she feels that she is impacting you, that her energy touches something inside you, that you are not just witnessing her but responding to her, even in your stillness. This is what most men miss. They confuse desire with physical arousal. But for a woman, true desire is about the emotional and energetic space you hold when she enters your orbit. Do you light up? Do you lean in? Do you respond with curiosity, with reverence, with raw, grounded presence? Or do you react with expectation, obligation, or distracted urgency? Her body may be what you see, but her desire lives in how she feels seen. When she feels like your attention isn't performance-based but soul-driven, her walls begin to fall. And in that sacred opening, she brings you a version of herself that's wildly free, soft but fierce, playful but unfiltered. That version doesn't emerge because you took it. It emerges because she offered it. And she offered it because you created a space where her full sensuality could show up without being judged, rushed, or commodified. Feeling desired isn't about feeling useful, it's about feeling irresistible to the one you love. And for that feeling to awaken, she doesn't need you to perform, she needs you to respond to her scent, her energy, her breath, her truth. Not with solutions, but with sensation. Not with pressure, but with presence. It's not the size that stays with her, it's the way you made her feel. That's the part that echoes in her body long after the night is over. When she thinks back to the moments that took her breath away, she won't be replaying measurements in her mind, she'll be replaying the way you looked at her when her guard dropped, the way you kissed her without rushing, the way your touch felt like a question, not a demand. That emotional imprint is what transcends biology. It's what turns a moment into memory, and a memory into a craving. Real intimacy is a chemistry that lives beneath the surface. It's the way your energy feels against hers, the way your voice calms her nervous system, the way your presence tells her you are safe here. And when a woman feels that, her body responds in ways that no performance, no technique, and no physical attribute can compete with. Because she's not just surrendering to your body, she's surrendering to the emotional space you're holding for her. She doesn't want a checklist of techniques, she wants to be read like a poem. She wants a man who can listen with his fingertips, speak with his breath, hold her without words. And when that happens, when she feels emotionally mirrored and energetically met, she unlocks parts of herself that even she may not have known existed. Her sensuality expands, her expression deepens. She becomes more, not because you took her there, but because you made it safe enough for her to go there herself. This is the part that most conversations around sex miss completely. They focus on the external, the measurable, the visible. But the real action, it's happening in the invisible, in the space between two people, in the micro moments where attention becomes arousal, where empathy becomes erotic, where emotional intimacy becomes physical electricity. You don't need to be a master in bed. You need to be a student of her rhythms, of her stillness, of her subtleties. When you approach her with curiosity instead of certainty, you invite her to relax into her own pleasure. And that's when everything shifts. That's when her body begins to trust you, not because you're trying to be something for her, but because you're allowing her to be everything she is, freely, fully, and without shame. This is how deep connection transcends biology. This is how sex becomes sacred. It's not the act, it's the alignment, it's the attunement, it's the ability to be so present with her that every touch feels intentional, every pause feels poetic, and every kiss feels like a conversation between two souls who stopped trying to impress and started learning how to feel.